Okay, I'm going to call the February 21st council meeting to order. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Jenny, can you call roll, please?
I sure can, Mayor. Councilmember Cole is absent. Councilmember Schwer,
Here.
Councilmember Wong,
Here.
Councilmember Nordby,
Here.
and Mayor Mungy.
Here. Thank you. Agenda? Adopt the last agenda. Do we need to
Make a motion?
go make a motion? Whoever make a motion, please? Oh, it's on. I'm sorry, must have not been leaning far enough. Sorry about that.
I'll move to motion.
Motion,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Look at the consent agenda. Would you like to go through that, Jenny?
Yes. Yep. For the consent agenda, February 7th, 2023 workshop minutes, February 7th, 2023 regular meeting minutes, general claims in the amount of $1,938,979.39. HRA claims, $9,054.30. EDA claims, $12,051. The 2023 pay equity report, resolution accepting donations for January of 2023, building permit report for January 2023, ordinance amending the 2023 municipal fee schedule, and the resolution accepting Tom Shifsky to the EDA board.
Any questions, any comments on the agenda? We have a motion to move.
A motion to move.
Councilmember Schwer,
Second.
second. Councilmember Wong, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, meeting open to the public at 6:32. Anybody? Mr. Smalls? Your name and address, please, sir?
I live in a snowbank. John Schmall, 2750 Chisholm Avenue. The subject for this evening was to refer back to the special meeting that you had, the retreat, and the only thing that was on the agenda sheet was discussion, council, and city manager. I don't know what that is. Anyway, it turned out to be a very interesting meeting because I went there because I didn't know what was going on. And I have learned, and we're always learning, I've learned that according to the open meeting law, the only agenda that requires an agenda, a list of agenda items, is a special meeting. So that agenda needed to say, what was it? Goals for year 2023 and prioritizing same. That's what it was covering, as what I figured out after listening to it. And that should have been on the agenda, a requirement by the open meeting law. There is no requirement under the open meeting law, believe it or not, for any other of the regularly scheduled meetings to have any listing of what you're going to do. You could just say, come and we'll tell you. It's, it's unbelievable. I was talking to an attorney today that said that's what the open meeting law does. So just for the future, if you have a special meeting, you have to tell us, the great unwashed out here, that what the meeting is all about. And just an item from what we were doing just a little while ago at the 120 situation, that when you go to the DOT website and look at what they have as the first screen that comes up, lists that's 120 in Oakdale and Maplewood, and no mention of North St. Paul. So I called the guy in charge by the name of Coddington. I didn't have a chance to talk to him. I was talking to other people, and said, hey, how about? Never called me back. So maybe you guys have much more power to get him to put North St. Paul in that.
Thank you. Yeah, we did talk to everybody as far as the council. We went up to the 120, 36. We were able to discuss and look at some of the, thank you, sorry, discuss and look at some of the different plans they had. So it was a great meeting. It was good to have open house. So thank you. All right. I'm sorry, I'm leaning back too far. Okay, we'll close the meeting at 6:36 for open to public unless there's anybody online. Okay, thank you. All right. City business action items and recommendation, resolution approving the site plan for 2231 11th Avenue. Is somebody going to speak on that?
That'll be Community Development Director Brandy.
Yep, so we received an application for a Dunkin' Donuts to be located at Polar Plaza at 2231 11th Avenue East. And the Planning Commission reviewed that at their last meeting. The site plan as presented met all of the zoning requirements. And a couple of items that the Planning Commission brought to our attention was to take the site plan back to the city engineer to have them review it for traffic circulation and traffic counts to make sure that was going to be kosher. So that's listed as a condition of approval in your packet. And the other item was to ensure that there is a cross-access agreement to one of the driveways to the north that goes off side of the property. So that is additional condition of approval, but all other items were reviewed by the Planning Commission and it was recommended for approval of this commission or of the City Council.
Okay. We're going to do this one item at a time? Do we have to vote?
Yep, this is the only item, so you'll just, somebody will make a motion to approve the resolution that's in the packet.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? So moved, Your Honor. So moved by Councilmember Wong. Second?
I'll second that.
Second, Councilmember Schwiers. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. I think the next one is yours, Officer Phil. Chief, sorry.
No problem at all. How's everybody doing tonight? Surviving the storm? Making it out? It's good to see. Let me try to share my screen here.
I was going to try your last name, but I didn't go that far.
It's common spelling there. Here we go. All right. Well, thanks for having me here tonight. Just wanted to talk about an idea for a solution I have for the really nationwide problem of law enforcement staffing that we're all experiencing. I brought a couple of these things up before, but the Police Executive Research Forum, they're well aware of the problem that is going on in law enforcement. And Chuck Wexler, the director, called this a national crisis, the shrinking profession of law enforcement. So far, since 2017, we've had 14 Minnesota law enforcement agencies close. Law enforcement as a profession is in the middle of a 25-year low for new officers entering the field. And why this matters is, as you've seen in the overtime budget right here in North St. Paul, it is a major problem because it's the constant backfilling that is required, and it's just not sustainable. So a little bit on the research. This 2022 study of 13,085 employees asked what was the most important thing when deciding whether to accept a new job offer by an employer. 64% of them said that a significant increase in income or benefits was very important, and 61% said the greater work-life balance or better personal well-being. And then another 2022 study of what benefits attract and retain employees the most, 87% of the employees surveyed value health insurance benefits. A little more on the research. So the Police Executive Research Forum, pretty well-known research group for everything law enforcement related. They surveyed 194 police departments all across the nation in 2021. And here's a couple snippets of their findings. So from April 2019 to March 2020, the responding agencies hired an average of 8.67 officers per 100, and in the same period a year later, they only hired 8.21 new officers per 100. That's a 5% decrease in their hiring rate. And then on the resignation side, from 2019 to 2020, responding agencies reported there was 4.15 resignations per 100 officers, and then a year later there was 4.91 officers that resigned per 100. That's an 18% increase in the resignation rate. And on the retirement side, the 2019 to 2020 period, 2.85 retirements per 100. A year later, it's 4.14 officers retired per 100, or a 45% increase in the retirement rate. So overall, you add those together, you got an 8.21 per 100 officer hiring rate and a 9.05 per 100 officers retiring and resigning rate. So we're not hiring as fast as they're going out the door. So a little qualitative data from that same survey conducted by the Police Executive Research Forum. So these are from various police chiefs and command staff throughout the country. One of them stated, "My department is getting younger as my experienced personnel retire or resign and are replaced with new officers. We are struggling to keep up with salaries for neighboring larger departments who are recruiting my experienced officers." Another police executive said, "We have seen an approximate 40% reduction in applicant packets this last fiscal year. In addition, we are seeing fewer above-average candidates. The current rhetoric and negativity surrounding law enforcement is having a negative impact on the number and quality of applicants we recruit. Applications have decreased dramatically, making hiring extremely difficult, and our officers have fatigue from working long shifts and covering backfill slots to supplement staffing. That is absolutely a problem that we have experienced firsthand here." Another chief said, "We've had a more than 50% reduction in the number of applicants for the Recruit Academy from an average of 450 per year to only 205 in 2020. And we've seen a 100% reduction in qualified lateral recruits, with 0 hired in 2020 compared to an average of 3 to 4 annually since 2008. Another chief said, "We have seen the most dramatic increase in retirements, resignations in my 6 years as chief. Officers who became eligible to retire have done it at the first opportunity. We've had a lieutenant resign with 16 years who was not even eligible for retirement. In 2020 and 2021, most of our officers who left did not leave for another department. They left the profession, and we unfortunately experienced that with 2 who resigned from North St. Paul. They just left the entire profession of law enforcement." Another chief said, "It's been difficult to hire back to our full complement for the past 5 years. With over 25% of our department retiring since 2016, the candidate pool has gotten smaller and smaller. With another large wave of retirements due in the next 3 years, it could be an insurmountable task for an agency our size. We are fortunate to work in a community that still supports its police department. However, the negative climate surrounding law enforcement has definitely affected morale. Officers are researching other careers in preparation to retire once they complete their 20 years of service and are eligible for a retirement. This is different from a few years ago when officers were planning to stay 30 to 40 years with the department. And I think one of the biggest, most important things here, kind of leading to my solution strategy, which I'll talk about in a minute, is Chief said that we have found that traditional incentives do not resonate with the applicants applying to be an officer. So as far as what this has looked like for us in North St. Paul, 9 police officers have retired since, we've hired 9 since November of 2021. 7 have resigned or been terminated since December of 2021. The resignation reasons have included the profession is too stressful, too dangerous, they're no longer interested in the law enforcement career. Mental trauma and PTSD from working in law enforcement was a reason. Not worth the stress, lack of support, accepted a position in a private sector which pays more, has better benefits, and is significantly less stressful. We had 1 lateral to another department with more opportunities in assignments and schedules, better benefits, and then 2 of the 9 that I actually hired in the past year and a half were included in that resignation number, and those are the ones who left their profession entirely. As you've all noticed, our overtime spending to fill the vacant shifts and just to maintain our minimum staffing numbers forces more of a responsive model. If there's, we're at bare minimums, then it's not the proactive style policing, not the community. It doesn't allow cops to do much beyond responding to 911 calls. So some of the solutions and strategies being offered out there, and there is a lot of them, and I won't go through all of them, but it's mainly hiring bonuses, 7,000, 5,000, lateral bonuses, front-end loaded vacation, $1,000 hiring bonus, some offering tuition coverage, nationwide strategies. They're hiring part-time officers, retirees, LAPDs doing this housing for our hires program, offering $24,000 in housing subsidy for up to 24 months. Online citizen reporting applications. And in Washington, there's a $10,000 retention bonus for each deputy and a $15,000 lateral transfer bonus if you're a current officer or deputy. So these strategies, they're not working is the bottom line. If they were working, the agencies that posted on our Minnesota Post Board to try to get jobs would only be on there one time because they would have met their goal in hiring after their $10,000 bonus was offered out there. They would have got all the applicants that they needed. But instead, we have almost 200 agencies on the Post Board looking for jobs right now, all with various strategies. So what's going on out there is not accomplishing what we all need, which is people interested in law enforcement, and just failing to achieve the proper staffing negatively impacts the budgets, morale, wellness. It makes training difficult because there's less people to work the street. So then if you want to give somebody a day off so they can go to training, that's even harder to do. Physical and mental health, officer and community safety, community and police relationships, and retention. Stress, burnout, compassion fatigue, mental and physical deterioration of our officers, increased response times, decreased trust and effectiveness. Lateral moves, this constant, we're trying to get other officers to come to our departments who are actively working. It's not a win overall. Everybody's always short. If you're taking current officers from another department, well, you're leaving another department short. And that's the strategy that's being forced right now because the applicant pools are non-existent. So the overall problem is just this diminished interest in the profession for current officers. and the lack of interest in the profession for the new generations. This solution idea is trying to make Minnesota become a state that is a destination state for attracting the talented, diverse new officers. And our education requirement, I think it's fantastic. It just speaks to the level of professionalism that Minnesota officers have. But this strategy would put on a benefit that matches the time, effort, and commitment that officers have to do to go to school to get a degree to be a cop in Minnesota. This would just match that dedication that it takes to get the degree to become a cop in Minnesota. And what it's doing right now is making, people interested in the profession in Minnesota, they can go to Wisconsin, Iowa, North or South Dakota at 18 or 19 years old and become a cop without having to do the 2 or 4 year degree, and they can just get a cop job right away, versus in Minnesota, you have to get a degree prior to being a licensed peace officer. So anybody that doesn't want to do that is going to go to any neighboring state and be able to become a cop right away. So the hope is retain our current officers and the trusting relationships that they develop within the communities that they're serving, attracting new generations, especially non-traditional and minority populations, to this profession, hoping to get a comprehensive, equitable approach to recruitment and retention that allows all agencies to retain and attract quality officers to serve their communities, not just the most affluent communities. And this strategy, I think, is allowing a rebranding of the profession as one that is supported by the elected officials at our state level, and also decreasing some of the professional stigma against receiving health care, physical and mental health care, a focus on wellness and healing from all of the negative stress impacts that this profession has. And then you got to throw in our competition with the private sector perks, which offer a lot less stress, a lot more safety, the flexible schedules, and remote work. Smaller departments absolutely can't compete by the financial incentives being offered by larger departments. If we don't come up with a solution, you're going to see more small and mid-sized departments folding, just because they're not able to hire as quick as officers are leaving. And overall, the police and community are going to suffer, and crime's going to increase if you don't have officers on your streets to take the calls for service. When you lose officers, you lose the trust that they've developed, and those relationships that really impact whether your community and your officers are all getting along together. Our strategy is the strategies at least being used right now are just the financial incentives instead of a commitment to service and professional values of whatever your agency is promoting that aligns with any of the applicant's own moral compass. And it's also making agencies, working against each other as we're all going after the same depleted applicant pools. So daily demands and responsibilities of police officers are harder and more stressful than ever, and that's compounded when there are fewer people to fulfill these demands. Officers that are here are working harder and harder to try to meet them. Eventually, that is going to lead to burnout and health issues and resignations. In a deterrence on crime in the 21st century research article, the author stated, the certainty of being caught is a vastly more powerful deterrent than the punishment, and police deter crime by increasing the perception that criminals will be caught and punished. If there are fewer law enforcement officers present to respond to growing crime, there's definitely less hope that they will be able to successfully deter crime in our communities. So the solution concept is state-funded medical and dental care for single and family insurance premiums for all officers in Minnesota for their duration of their entire careers. A couple things that I know this will bring. It's going to make Minnesota the desirable career destination for definitely local, regional, and national candidates. On the retention side, officers are going to stay in the profession if they can obtain healthcare premium coverage, which is not, to my knowledge, being done all too often in the private sector. On the wellness side, officers are going to be motivated to seek the mental health services, prevent and recover from PTSD, and overall be healthier, happier people. On the diversity side, it's a new strategy to attract the diverse populations, women and non-traditional applicants to Minnesota peace officer careers. On an equity front, the current rising healthcare costs have a greater impact on officers working in smaller agencies, making them even less desirable to attract and to retain and attract officers. Medical and dental premium coverage for all officers will provide an equity-based solution to all agencies, communities, and budgets by making all agencies as attractive as the next in the benefit that matters, as the research showed most, is healthcare. And on the morale side, I think this concept and this solution idea will really show that elected official support, and it's going to immediately improve the depleted morale that does exist among officers in every agency by just sending the message that the folks at the Capitol care about public safety, they care about officers, and that's going to immediately impact our ability to recruit and retain officers throughout the state. So really, I'm just hoping to get support from you that we can make this into a future bill that would provide legislative funding for healthcare premiums for all active Minnesota peace officers, and hopefully provide a permanent, equitable solution to the recruitment and retention crisis that's facing Minnesota and really every agency throughout the country, while also improving our agency efforts towards diversity, morale, and wellness. Currently, I have support from my Ramsey County Chiefs of Police Association group, and from the other side of the river, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. And I did want to just mention the estimated cost from a lot of number crunching is about 31 to 50 million annually for all law enforcement officers in Minnesota, and that equates to 2,900 to 4,700 annually per officer, and that is using the post-board figure of 10,571 current licensed full-time peace officers in Minnesota. And if you guys have any questions at all, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. Any questions, anybody?
I don't know the right way to do this, so
No.
if I want to support this, but I have two family members that are police, can I still support this?
Microphone was working. Yeah. So the question is having family members who are police officers a conflict of interest,
Yes.
essentially? I don't think so. I mean, you wouldn't be getting any personal benefit from any of it, and it's an expression of support for a statewide policy objective. So I don't believe that would constitute a conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, I appreciate, first and foremost, we all appreciate the amount of work that the police department does put in here in North St. Paul. And quite honestly, I appreciate your tenacity and for the department and just all of this research that you've put together. My overall question is, how do you feel that the department is doing here right now?
Well, we're doing good overall. you know, it's been a tough stretch, there's no doubt. It's been a constant hiring, retention, and, you know, for the past year and a half, we're getting there. We're still one short. We've been trying to get that one last position filled for quite a while. We're just not seeing the applicants in the pool. So, you know, they've been busy, as you've seen in the budget. We've been asking a lot, but we got a darn good team, and it's a young group, and they're a fantastic group of cops and people. So the future's looking good. We're just, you know, I think this will really breathe some life into law enforcement overall, and definitely have an impact on our own team here.
So with us supporting you, is this part of going to, with the association, is this part of going to the Capitol to attend some of these bill requests or whatnot?
Absolutely, yeah, I'm gonna try. So if you're willing to support this and make a resolution that says so, I'm going to share that with the rest of the cities listed in our Ramsey County Chiefs group, try to get them to do the same thing. And then we're going to try to take all that steam to get somebody to author a bill, and then go hopefully testify in support of this and try and make it a reality.
Fantastic.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Lisa?
Yeah, thank you, Chief Babenroth, for your presentation. I've definitely heard that you've done a lot of work to recruit the officers that you have now, so I appreciate that very much. I think you've hired, I think you had 9 in there. And for context and the new council members, can you kind of specify some of those like strategies and ways you've you know, implemented to recruit who you have now?
Sure. Really, my strategy has been a lot just on culture and trying to make things so our own officers are enjoying it here, and that has been my primary thing. I think word of mouth goes a long ways in this profession, and if cops are talking to each other and saying good things about enjoying the place that they work at, that is the best recruitment effort that we can possibly do. And we're also we're trying to get out there and be seen and get to know people in the community as much as we can, and just let everybody know who we are. And I think that's definitely helped. Your council support and getting a lot of much needed equipment to keep them safe on the job has absolutely helped. So we're getting a lot of things they need to be safe and efficient in the job, and technology stuff to not have them getting frustrated by technology failing them when they're out on the streets. So that's been a huge help. So kind of all the things that, and really just the attitude of focusing on them and making sure that they know that I care and that our admin team cares about them, and just that it's a positive environment. Kind of been my main strategy.
Thank you. And can you speak to some of the other stakeholders that you were discussing? You said you have the association. Are there other municipalities that are having the same discussion right now with their law enforcement team?
So I brought it up to at our last Ramsey County Chiefs Police Association meeting that I was going to present this idea to our council, and then if I could get a resolution from our council, then I would share that resolution with them. And I got their vocal support from the group at that meeting, but really the next steps would be sharing a resolution, and then they would take that to their council to try to get the same. I just recently spoke with a lobbyist who informed me that the Hennepin County Sheriff was on board with this idea and was very supportive of it. So hoping to get even more support from all of our pals on the other side of the river and then hopefully throughout the state. I mentioned it to the Minnesota Chiefs of Police. They're likely going to be supportive of it. I was a little late on making their legislative agenda because I was a little just late in putting all this together prior to their agenda being prepared for the current session. But I'm hopeful that I'll have the Minnesota Chiefs of Police on board as well. But it'll all kind of start here if you guys can, if you're willing to adopt a resolution in support of this.
Questions?
Well, I guess the question that I have now is so correct me, there is no resolution at this point. There's no language that, our attorneys have gone over yet.
Not to my knowledge. I believe the next step from here would probably be to ask staff to prepare a resolution if that's what the council wishes to do, would be to prepare a resolution in support of this, and then that would probably have to be approved at the next meeting once there's a formal written motion available.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Your team that you built, you got the 9 new officers. What kind of seniority, how many years experience? Is it a younger force? Is it, you have a mixture of ages as far as different time in the field?
Yeah, we're pretty young. Our most senior officer has 15 years on, and then our next has 11, and then we have a couple right around 10, but I'd say our average is probably 4. A lot of young new officers. Our newer hires have been pretty young, so they got a lot of years ahead. Hoping we can keep them all here in North St. Paul.
Good. Any other questions? So we're going to be moving to do a resolution?
I think it's instructing.
Yeah, that's what I mean, to write a resolution.
It will be a motion to request staff draft a resolution in support.
Okay, what he said. Say it again.
A motion to request staff prepare a resolution in support of the policy proposal.
Right, thank you. Anybody wants to move that?
I'll move that.
All right, Councilmember Schwer, second?
Second.
Second. Councilmember Norby, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your work, thank you. Thanks, Chief. Welcome, Chief. Look at this table. Got them all there.
Hello, Mayor. Hello, Council. Thanks for having me today. So I'm just going to go review some data regarding 2022 and response as it relates to the fire department and what's been done over the last year. Maybe first, just to kind of get a foundation of everyone, of how our fire department operates, just in case not everybody completely understands, but our department is what you call, basically, it's a full-time and a part-time paid-on-call department. So we have, beginning this year, back to 3 full-time staff members and a total of 33 part-time paid-on-call members. We don't have any administrative help, but I do get help quite a bit from Carrie back there on OpenGov and operating our platforms there, and staff up front office helping out with answering some phones when we're unable to take care of things. Our EMS provider, our paramedic service, is provided by Lakeview EMS. They're staffed in the station 24/7. They've been part of our response and department since 1997, when we basically gave up our BLS ambulance service at that point. We work very closely with them. We consider them part of our department. For the most part, when we respond to station all calls for our fire calls, if you will. So we've had quite a few this afternoon and evening, once even while I was in here, but yeah, there's medical coming in right now as well. So we have good timing for this, an EMS duty shift. So along with Lakeview Ambulance responding to the medical, I have one person that's on the EMS duty shift, and basically they have a squad. They're either at here in the station or at home, where they respond directly to the medicals. And then I also have what's called a duty officer position, and the same thing. It's one of our lieutenants, captains, or even myself, like tonight. I'm the duty officer for later this evening. So if there were a medical, the two of us would be responding to first respond to the medicals. It's always great when Lakeview is here, but like most ambulances around the metro area, they get very busy as well. And when they're transporting and we need help with coverage, we have first responders going as well. Along with those shifts on the weekend, we do on Saturday what I call an initial duty shift, where I have 3 firefighters that are in the station, and they have a specific guidelines for the types of calls that they go on. So we have an engineer, if you will, an officer, and a firefighter on the truck. And that's typically, for the most part, how the majority of metro departments respond at this point. It used to be years ago, we tried to roll out with a full crew on the truck. It's just not the case anymore. However, on our station all calls, I do like to promote that we do a good job of filling our trucks and going out on with a full crew. But for our initial duty, they're coming in. I assign specific training tasks for them to practice on while they're here, along with responding to calls, learning how to respond to calls, the training piece of it, and then also for community events to be a part of those as well. We're also a part of what's called auto aid for structure fires, and this is something that's done countywide and even stretches into Washington County. So if there's a reported fire within North St. Paul, there's 2 key words that dispatch looks for. They look for heavy black smoke, or anything that says there's a lot of dense black smoke, or if anybody sees fire. So any of those 2 words come up related to a structure, what happens is we get toned out along with our auto aid partners. So it's going to be North St. Paul, Maplewood, Oakdale, and White Bear Lake. All those agencies are being notified at the same time of a structure fire within our city, and we begin responding. This also is reciprocated the same way. So we respond to Maplewood, Oakdale, White Bear Lake, and other departments as well. And the reason for that is to have the opportunity to get more resources on scene as quickly as possible to mitigate this situation. Previously, we would respond as a mutual aid request, meaning waiting for an agency to get on scene, determine what was going on, and then ask for additional resources to come in, which typically at that point you're putting things 10 minutes behind. So this is just a way to get, manage your resources quite a bit better. So we work very closely with our Ramsey County groups and even Washington County, Oakdale, like I said, Woodbury, Lake Elmo, talk to them quite frequently. We're also a member of the training facility that's right in our backyard, the East Metro Training Facility. I am actually the chair of the board for the JPA over there. And we have we also have a operating group that basically manages the property. So we conduct a lot of our training. I'll talk about that later, but we conduct a lot of our training over there, and it has helped out immensely with us. One of the things that I was able to do, as Chief Babenroth was talking about, attending the Capitol, was the Fire Service Day at the Capitol, and it gave us an opportunity to meet and talk to our representatives. And one of the things we're working on with our representatives is to add additional training facility at the East Metro Public Safety Training. So we have, right now, we're looking for, we have a bill going forward that's looking for support to get a study to determine additional fire and police training facilities out there. So that's moving along, which we hope does happen. Yeah, so why don't I just get started with our calls and we'll go from there. So we ended the year with a total of 1,605 calls for service. That includes all fire and EMS. And again, that's, as you can see, the graph broken out there. Again, we finished a highest ever that we've been at. The majority of what we do respond to is EMS related. I have that broken down, that 1,230 of those calls were EMS and 375 were those station all calls. And some of those notable station all calls listed there: 56 fire incidents. We break it down as far as 28 structure fires, 8 dumpster fires, 13 cooking fires, 5 vehicle fires, 1 grass fire, 1 boiler burner type fire. Other related type calls: 66 alarm sounding, no fire type calls, 49 dispatched and canceled en route calls. So similar, somebody calls, thinks they saw something burning, we get out there and don't find something. It could be as simple as that. 31 motor vehicle accidents, 25 gas leaks, either natural or propane, 25 medical assists. Those are typical additional staff needed on severe cardiac arrest type calls, 19 unauthorized burning type calls, 13 carbon monoxide, 10 smoke odor removal, 10 power line down, and 4 specific to assist the PD, and a lot of those similarly would be up at the high school for something specific related. Again, I talked about auto aid and mutual aid. So given, meaning we have responded to other agencies 31 times, 29 of those were for fires, 1 was a motor vehicle accident, and 1 was an EMS call. And then we received auto aid for 10 incidents. 3 of them were fires for us, and the other 7 were EMS related. At the end of 22, we had 33 members. That includes the staff that was hired in 22. Ultimately, we hired 3. A couple of them had EMS experience, and all of our staff needed Fire 1 and 2 hazmat training. Typically, that's what we find. We find people that have other full-time or part-time jobs, and they need some training, and we end up putting them through the training. So as relates to the previous year, we had 4 members that completed their firefighter one hazmat, either EMR or EMT training in the last year to become really a valued member in the ways of their putting their knowledge to use. Now, it takes minimally about a year to get them fully trained if they come to us with nothing. We did have 3 retirements or resignations in '22. Matt Watt retired with 13 years of service. Chris Badhurst resigned, and Mike Richter resigned. And all of those persons ultimately, again, had other full-time jobs and moved out of the area. They just outgrew their location or moved for other reasons. Our response time, average response time for EMS calls, excluding accidents with injuries, is 4 minutes. So that's from the alarm, basically the tones going off, to first arrival. The average response time for chief officers to our station all calls, those fire type calls, from alarm to arrival is 5 minutes and 3 seconds. And our response time for our first engine company, a North St. Paul engine company that arrives on scene from alarm to arrival, is 6 minutes and 10 seconds. So that's excellent times. Our standard by NFPA says we have anywhere from a minimum of 8 to 10 minutes. So we're doing good. The number that doesn't reflect in that time necessarily would be how many people are on the truck. And typically that can range anywhere from 3 to 7. I did a quick breakdown just to kind of show you the total incidents and the time frame. So definitely from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., the majority of the calls, that's when they came in, 790. 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., 406, and then overnight for our calls, 10 p.m. to 8 p.m., 409. The estimated fire damage loss, now this is a state formula that is calculated by a program that they give us. So based off the extensive property loss that we had this past year with the fires in North St. Paul, total property loss, $828,812. Content lost, $493,521, with a total loss of $1.3 million. And again, that's a formula that's really, we don't get any specific numbers back from insurance companies. It's just a formula that the state fire marshal gives us to throw something quantitative at it to break it down. Any questions thus far? Otherwise, I'll talk about our training. So training, our staff in '22, we had over 4,000 hours of training for all of our personnel. And a lot of that comes down to the live burn training exercises that we do conduct at the East Metro Public Safety Training Facility. We conduct at least 20 a year with a minimum of 4 hours each. And we're going to add on to that this year. Typically our trainings are always on Wednesdays, whether they're in the morning or in the evening, and we try to keep them around 4 to 5 hours. We're adding in a Saturday just to be able to spend more time, and that should be in May, and we'll have a full day out there with the team and spend about 8 hours out there with everybody training. We conduct in-house engineering drills. So those are driving, pumping, and relay pumping. Those groups get together every once a month to review that specifically as it relates to engineers. We have officer meetings and training, again, once a month to talk specifically about officer related issues. We conduct vehicle extrication training once a year, do 2 to 3 training sessions with that of around 3 hours each. We've had firefighters attend a fire instructor class, NFPA live burn instructor class. Firefighters have to go to a fire apparatus operator course to get certified as a firefighter to be able to pump and drive the trucks. We have staff that takes what's called a Blue Card Incident Management online training class. Either you become an emergency medical responder or an EMT, and depending on how much time you have, minimally, everybody starts off with the EMR, the 40-hour class, and if those have a need to take on the EMT level, we offer that to them as well. And then our chief officers attend the 3-day training at the State Fire Chiefs Conference. Quarterly, we conduct EMS, continuing medical education training that's instructed by EMS or Regions EMS, and that's a total of 12 hours annually. So far for this year, my goal has been, on the training part of it, has been for firefighter health and awareness. And we've been able to, it's provided by, through the state, through a group called MinFire. And one of the trainings we've already conducted this year is called Occupational Health Risk and Awareness. And it focuses on firefighter cardiac issues, cancer issues, and emotional trauma. And it's basically to talk about the related risks to the positions and what we can do to protect ourselves and how to take better care of ourselves, whether it's working out or having the equipment to protect us from the cancer-causing toxins that are in the fires. And we also, in February, did a deep dive session on emotional wellness, how it impacts us at work and at home, what we can do to recognize it, resources and information given out to the firefighters, and talk about debriefings. And we've been through a lot this past year, so it was a good opportunity to get through this. And then in March, we'll be focusing on specifically for our officers on incident command training. So what that means if they were to be on the duty officer shift and arrive on scene of a fire, it's their job to take command of that incident and instruct the incoming units what to do, along with attending weekend officer schools in March. So that's thus far. Obviously, we'll be doing a lot of live burn training as well, and our staff is really excited about that. So anything else on the fire side? Otherwise, I'll jump to code compliance. Or actually, thanks for reminding me, Councilmember Schwer, I talk about on February 3rd, I'll just do a quick recap of our awards and retirement party. So we started out with recognizing 10 years of service for our Captain Chris Mellon that he had on September 28th, 2000. He began on September 28th, 2012. And then I also added in there our Assistant Chief Brent Fixon and Lieutenant Tim Gangle. They had 10 years on January 2nd of this year. We started the evening out with that. And then I handed out some certificate of braveries for some team members that were the first crew that arrived on a severe structure fire. And under hazardous conditions, they encountered heavy black smoke and fire, and they performed their duties of distinguished bravery and stamina in adverse fire conditions. And that was firefighter Faustin, firefighter Hansen, firefighter Leon, and firefighter Chesvold. The next, I had another certificate of bravery for a second apartment fire that we had. And that was for Lieutenant Matt Watt and firefighter Hansen and firefighter Westerhoff. We had a certificate of merit for firefighters that performed a notable act of distinction in their performance of duties that reflects their integrity and devotion conducted throughout the incident. And this was our incident that we had multiple victims related to the shooting and stabbing incident. That was firefighter Hansen, firefighter Tice, firefighter Greiser, firefighter Young, and Assistant Chief Fixon. We honored our retiree, Lieutenant Matt Watt, of 13 years of service. He was a firefighter, an EMT, an engineer, a lieutenant, and our chaplain. Matt became our chaplain after Chris Langlet, who was our prior chaplain for the fire department and police department, passed away. So at this point, if you know anybody that's looking to be a chaplain, we have an open spot. Always looking for someone to help. Wrapping up, I had 3 Chief Award of Excellence in recognition of outstanding attitude, work, and performance, duties above and beyond those required of the firefighter. That was for firefighter Chambers and firefighter Chapeau. And then Chief Award of Excellence for Lieutenant DiGiacomo. Again, outstanding attitude, work, performance above and beyond the position. Last, we conducted the Firefighter of the Year Award as chosen by all of our officers, and the firefighter is an individual who has positive characteristics, a notable record of service, and supports the fire department and community activities and exemplifies dedication, integrity, loyalty. He's a team player, productivity, and professionalism, and that went to firefighter Alan Hansen. So it was a good night. We had a lot to be thankful for. It's an opportunity to thank our firefighters for what they do throughout the year, but most importantly to me is also their family members that are there to support them and thank them for allowing them to leave all the time, especially at any time, or to be woken up in the middle of the night when the pager's going off. So it's a family affair, really it is, if you're married to a firefighter or a part of their life, that's for sure. Anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to jump to code compliance.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you for, it's one of those services you don't appreciate until you need it. So, and in our case, I just want to indulge for a minute here. Well, family wasn't feeling well, went to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, and my youngest came in our bedroom and said, our oldest son, Nathan, couldn't breathe. And we went out there and he had COVID, and so we called, we did CPR. We had fire department, police there within 5 minutes. Everybody was working on him for 45 minutes. You know, like I said, you're sleeping 1 minute and your life has changed in the next minute. But just working on that, and police officers got involved. They were helping because everybody was getting so tired with CPR. Just the effort everybody puts into it. I mean, they were working as hard as they could. And, you know, with the result, of course, he didn't make it. And it's so hard on those guys. I can see how they need, you know, to have that support and be able to do that, because there's nothing worse than having to turn around and say, we did all we could do type of thing. But everybody in the whole department was so, and then 8 months later, my father-in-law dropped dead of a heart attack at his house, and same thing. They were there within minutes working on him. So we have a great staff as far as the volunteers and everybody, and I can talk from experience. Sometimes it's, you know, you look at it there and you think, oh, it's just glad to have it there. But when you have to have it done, and everybody drops everything, like you said, for the family, and, you know, gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We called, 911 for my son, and, everybody's there working so hard, and it's a dedication. And I just really want to say from my experience, and thank you all so much for everything you guys do on those numbers. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. I appreciate that. I will let our team know. Ultimately, yes, we are always sorry for the difficulties and the loss that everybody goes through. We want to be there to help out. I do believe we have a great setup within North St. Paul and you don't realize it, unfortunately, until you have to make that call. Our PD, our first responders, we have multiple layers in that situation that can get there quickly to start interventions right away, and along with Lakeview EMS, and then eventually additional staff from our station that, people are coming directly to the station, getting on the truck, and then coming to help, because, yeah, it takes a lot to do those types of scenarios, but we have a great team, and if we're getting people there and doing those things, I'm proud of that. So thank you.
I had the pleasure of attending that event, and I sat with Matt and his family at dinner, and he was quite emotional about leaving the department, and unfortunately, it's because he moved to a different city. But the fact that a few of the firefighters had indicated this as well, but this does go out directly to family and friends, especially when they get that call and that on-call, and they're leaving an event with their friends or they're leaving an event with their family because they are so committed to our fire department here. I appreciated all the awards that were handed out and the recognition of every single one of those individuals. It's the dedication for all of them is outstanding, and I don't have words to describe it. But thank you for a wonderful event. It was really nice to be there and attend that and get to know some of the firefighters in the department. The teamwork that you have exemplifies their attitude. Everything just shined that night. It was really neat to be there.
Well, I thank you for being there, and I do have a great team. We have a great team. We work very closely together, even within our department and with the police department and with the EMS. We have a great group of people here, and like Phil said earlier, it really affects everybody. It really does to have support, so appreciate that. Anything else? Otherwise, I'll jump into code compliance.
How is it staffing wise? We understand the shortage with our police department. Where are we at with your department as far as trying to get people? Because I know there's a lot of people that were in this town that stayed in this town and, worked in this town, but, there's a lot more people going everywhere. So how's it going?
There was, prior to COVID, it was difficult to get many applications, and when I say many, I'm going to say like 3 or 4. And then more recently, we've been getting anywhere from 10 to 12 applications, which is good. It's difficult to find people that are willing to give more nowadays when there's always more to life, especially when you have family and or kids or just life in general. There's it's different than what it was before. We recently, 2-3 years ago, went through a retirement phase, and we had 4, 5, 6 people retire with over 160 years of service combined between all of them, and they were anywhere from the upper 20s to the lower 30s, and we just don't see that kind of dedication any longer. So currently we have 33 members on the department. I can have up to 40, and we are always looking for people to apply. It's open constantly. We monitor, and I'll get applications. A lot of the time what people are looking for is a full-time position, and they may not qualify, and we're typically not hiring those full-time firefighter positions. And we have a response time, so you have to have, you have to live within the city or have a 8-minute response time to the station. And I should state that as typically our response time is a 5-minute response time from the station. So I changed it last year, actually, to extend up to 8 minutes, and I can have 20% of my staff at that 8-minute mark. So obviously that changes depending on the amount of members that we have on at the time, but I don't want to have people beyond that 8 to 10-minute mark, because then it relates to getting a unit on scene right away. So a lot of departments have changed their response models to try and incorporate what's best for their city. You know, what we've been able to change over the years has been able to provide the training at no cost to the individual, and a lot of this is submitted back to the state for reimbursement that I can get as well. So that can be helpful quite a bit. But it's a constant battle of people coming and going, and most recently, like I said, our people that have left have either retired after many years of service or resigned and had moved away, and are on other departments as well. So
How does that work for insurance when it comes to, if you're a firefighter and you're spraining your ankle while you're out there and things like that? Is it the city that covers it? Is it the state? How does that work?
workers comp through the
Workers'
city.
comp.
Yeah.
So they sign up and they're on that then?
Yep.
Even how many hours they do?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. So our firefighters, when they're on a duty shift, they have a minimal amount that they're paid to be on the duty shift, but really they don't get paid their hourly rate until there is a call. So if it's a medical call or a fire call at that point, once they start responding to a call. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any questions? Anybody else? Okay, thanks.
All right, code compliance and inspections. So we have 2 part-time, or we started off 22 with 2 part-time code compliance firefighter positions. And that went up until August 1st of 22, and we went down to 1 position. That was at that point, they took another job. And at that point, we were also going through the budget and looking to add back the third, it's actually the 3rd full-time position, but 2nd full-time fire inspector position, which council did approve, and we have that position filled. So thank you for that, and that's going great. But during that time, we weren't sure, because we were looking at giving up some things to be able to get that full-time position back. And one of those was this part-time code compliance position. Ultimately, it stayed in the budget for '23. So I am looking to post that part-time position again here shortly for that. And really what I have here are personnel that are on the fire department, but they're dealing with code compliance issues. And to make things more difficult, it's an actual part-time position where they're scheduled for 24 hours a week. Previously, I had them scheduled where one was doing Monday through Wednesday and the other one was Wednesday through Friday. So we had the entire week covered with at least 1 code compliance person. But we've just been picking up the slack as we've been able to since August. But again, looking to move forward in the next couple weeks with posting that position, that 2nd part-time position. Code compliance-wise, what they dealt with specifically related to code compliance cases, 113 of them, and you can see the breakdown. The majority of what they deal with a lot of the times can be tall grass and weeds, snow and ice removal, trash, garbage, debris, parking issues, property maintenance, diseased trees, debris in the street, illegal dumping, wreck fire concerns. Those are the ones that have no fire department response. And resident property inspections or conversations as requested. So a lot of the times they require the code compliance person to make contact, whether it's in person. We always try to do it in person if possible, but a lot of times somebody isn't around, so it could be a matter of a letter going out or leaving something on the door formally with a notice. And the one thing we were able to do in '22 was switch from SharePoint to OpenGov and get all of our code compliance onto OpenGov, so that was accomplished. So now we have everything there instead of being split between SharePoint and OpenGov. We always have severe property concerns going on. I was talking to our attorney about that earlier this evening on some of those we have, but those typically require legal intervention, and those are the ones that just don't comply and require a lot of extra work all around. Chicken and bees is another area that they handle. In '22, they had 3 chicken keeping licenses approved and inspected in '22, and currently there are 13 licenses out there, 1 beekeeping license, and 3 current kennel licenses. They also conduct zoning inspections, so those can be driveway, fence, sign, shed, retaining walls, patios, et cetera, those types of things. So once those are completed and done, and an inspection is requested, they'll go out and review and make sure that everything was done the way the permit was presented in OpenGov. And typically they work closely with, well, now they're working closely with Brandy on making sure if they have any questions related to that. So completed 55, 39 are active, and 8 were stopped. So again, in '22, we had 1 full-time fire inspector, firefighter position, but with the addition of the second one, we added that back in '23, and they started on the 24th of this year. Inspections conducted in '22, on the rental side of things, 95 single-family licenses, 26 duplex, 36 multifamily. So these are the larger complexes that could have anywhere from 4 to a dozen other buildings there. And typically, now that we're coming out of COVID, we're starting to get back into doing more inspections in person, whereas previously we were doing a lot of exterior inspections or trying to get them to send us photos of certain things as needed. Along with the fire inspection piece related to multifamilies and some of these commercial buildings, they have backflow preventers, and we just group that in with us so we can review that. That's more of a state requirement that says all backflow preventers in the state need to be inspected, so we group that in with fire inspections, rental inspections, and monitor those. We conducted, along with MinSpec, the 14 fire alarm and sprinkler alarm permits. Previous to 2019, when we had 2 full-time inspectors, we took on all alarm and sprinkler permits ourselves. And then after that point, when we lost that position and we're down to 1 inspector, we joined forces with MinSpec, if you will, to do the planning review. And at that point, we had a lot going on, obviously, and conducted the review of the plans and then also inspections on site And this helps us build our pre-plans as well for future response calls. We conducted 10 school inspections. We're one of about a dozen departments throughout the state that are allowed to do fire inspections throughout our school, and that's primarily because we've been doing fire inspections for so long within this city that we continue to keep up the necessary training, provide documentation back to the state of what's needed back to the schools as well. Commercial fire safety inspections, those were requested by the owner, and this is the one area that I'm looking to get back into a little bit more. We conducted 8 of those, 2 underground fuel tank removal inspections, 2 group home initial fire inspections. Again, those are typically requested by the state. And again, we started tracking those in OpenGov recently, and currently what we're doing is trying to get information from the state of how many active adult group homes we have, whether they're foster care or for childcare and the ages. So at this point, we're not received all of the data, but as far as we know, we have 19 active adult group homes, and we conducted the 1 fireworks inspection, and that was basically for Target to be able to sell fireworks within their store. So that is a special request as well. We didn't conduct any safe havens due to COVID, but we're planning to get started here later on in March or early April once we get our inventory back from Red Cross of detectors that they donate to us for that. You can see the license totals that we received in '22 for single-family duplex, 10,725, the multifamily, 8,845, and the backflow preventers, 2,180. My goals and priorities for '23, again, related to having the second inspector position back, improved management of rental licensing, property review, communication, completion of licenses, scheduling inspections, payments, and keeping things up to date. Our fire certificate of compliance, so basically our commercial properties. So when we lost our second inspector, it was, okay, what are we gonna give up? Because we're not gonna be able to do everything with loss of staff. And our goal was to maintain our rental licensing because of the life safety issue related to it. And basically stated that any commercial properties we would inspect upon their request, but we weren't going to be proactively scheduling inspections and going out for those. So my goal is to get back into that and update our pre-plan information on image trend for fire department response, so we know what's inside these buildings and where things are located as it relates to whether it's the fire alarm, the sprinkler system, any hazardous materials, if there are any or not, and where specific things are located that we need to be aware of. Again, restart the Safe Haven program, Fire Inspector 2 training for both inspectors. So currently our new inspector he was in Fire Inspector 1 training when he got hired. So he'll should finish later this spring. And then both of the inspectors will go on for additional Fire Inspector 2 training this fall. Once that's complete, then again, my goal hopefully for '24 is that they can start to handle and take on the plan review process over 100% and as it relates to alarms and sprinklers for new pieces of equipment coming in, or hoods, fire hoods as it relates to cooking as well. And then just continued management of difficult properties that require constant monitoring and upkeep. I think that was everything. I know that was a lot. Hope I didn't bore you. But if you have any questions, let me know now or later.
I think we have a couple. Lisa? Oh, Councilmember Wong?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you, Chief, and your team for the work that you do, and all the data that you brought today. I do have a question around code compliance. We had a retreat last week amongst council, and code compliance came up as kind of a hot topic amongst the group. And so, for context, can you just kind of describe your experiences with code compliance and how, those are managed? Obviously, there's a process that gets to a legal issue, but then, what is the other?
Yeah, so we have a myriad of ways that we can receive information from residents, if you will. Obviously, we have phone numbers direct to our staff, but there's also through our city website and utilizing OpenGov to notify us of code compliance issues to, and typically that's where I like to direct people to. I'm correct, Carrie? Yeah, to OpenGov. And there's an easy way for them to notify us of anything related to that, and then it goes directly to our code compliance people and myself to make sure that it's getting assigned to somebody. And depending on the issue of what it is, obviously, when we have a garbage type issue that's related to bags and bags of garbage outside of a home or that may be causing, those things need to be dealt with quicker than maybe something that, even though it's maybe as important as tall grass or getting your sidewalk shoveled, those are important things, but you also have a different health hazard that could be affected as well. So some items have different priorities as far as getting them accomplished. We always notify the property owner of the incident, and again, we try to talk to them, and if it's unable to talk to them at their home, to either contact them via phone or letter, and then give them the information and have them call us back. We try to inform them of the code, what it is and what needs to be completed, and give them a time frame to do that. And that's the difficult thing, is going on to somebody's property and telling them what's wrong with their property, and that can be difficult sometimes. So you have to have the right person and attitude to be able to approach them and deal with that issue. But either way, sometimes things just need to be taken care of. So sometimes people understand the issues and deal with things right away. That's for the most part, but sometimes they go on and on and on, and then we need to get legal involved, and it becomes extremely difficult and can become expensive. And it can also be frustrating. I'm probably sharing the same frustration that our attorney has, because I've dealt with Jack on multiple issues, and definitely the court system is not where we want to resolve these things, but a lot of times we're forced to that because everything we've spent all of our resources and time, and we're not getting anything done, and we're just trying to find some avenue to get some help. And a lot of times we don't even get what we're looking for if we have a citation or some type of order out there from the court to get things completed. Sometimes they can just say, you have a year probation, and then a year goes by and nothing's been done, and we have to start things all over again. So it's difficult. So it's really about our people being out front, talking, trying to get to have them resolve the issue, and working with them, trying to give them resources if there are some out there available for them. Yeah.
Thank you. Then my other question is in regards to your previous presentation in which you had stated like you have a lot of backlog of different inspections that you have done, partially because of COVID, and thus that's one reason we have a new inspector coming. Can you say a little bit about where you're at with that backlog? Have you been able to move the needle on that a little bit?
Yeah, good question, because I really feel like in the past couple of weeks or so, so again, our fire inspector started, second fire inspector started on the 24th of January. On the 2nd of February, he took a week off because he had twins. But in between there, he has been helping out with updating our current licenses and double checking on items that basically the areas where they've applied for the license. There may have been an inspection, there may not have been, but basically it dropped off on the applicant's side. So he's been going through all of those and reaching out to them and getting things scheduled. And so I'm starting to see the teamwork of two inspectors get back to starting to do a little bit more on the rental side as it relates to the single-family housing side. So our single-family licenses run from July 1st. Their licensing period is July 1st through June 30th. And our multifamily run basically January 1st through December 31st. We try to keep the licensing period for the single family starting in the summertime because we want to be able to deal with exterior property issues as well. And our multifamilies typically don't have those same exterior property issues because they're brick and mortar type buildings. But I've been very happy the last couple of weeks seeing the additional work that's been going into OpenGov. I know he's been bothering Carrie quite well and helping out. So it's been positive, and I really am looking forward to see how far we really move that dial and that needle this year because I already see it. So yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Councilmember Norby?
Thank you for your service. You and your support staff do a tremendous job. Could you explain to me what the Safe Haven program is? I'm not familiar with it.
Sure. Yeah, so basically, we started it, I'm going to say around 2016, 2017, and basically we were shared the program. I believe it started in St. Paul Fire, and what it is, basically we get smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors donated to us by the Red Cross. Then we have people that are single-family homeowners that live within the city of North St. Paul, and they can request us to come out to, one, do a walkthrough of their home and talk about any safety concerns that they have. Additionally, if they're an elderly couple, we have a pamphlet and areas that we can discuss about safety in their home for their fall prevention or just general safety for elderly in the home. But it's really meant to do is provide smoke detection and carbon monoxide detection in the homes, the older homes that weren't built and have the codes that we do now. So if you were to buy or build a new house today, you're going to have interconnected wireless smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in basically on every level and then every bedroom of the house. So our older homes, they don't have that. You might have one in the hallway upstairs, if you're lucky, and hopefully it's not more than, 10 years old, which typically they are. So we're getting these detectors that are 10-year sealed battery type detectors, and then we'll, once they make a request, we'll send a team out to the home, and they'll install smoke detectors in their bedrooms and in the main room. Now, if they have any hardwired smoke detectors in their home, we're not allowed to address those, but we will help them figure out a way and a plan. But we're typically dealing with homes that don't have anything or weren't required to by code, and we're installing the 10-year sealed batteries devices in their home to help protect them. And I should have brought previous numbers, but we stopped obviously during COVID, and prior to that, I mean, it would range anywhere from 75 to 80 a year that we were doing. So, and then we also track that in image trends. So if we were responded to that house and it were a save, if you will, to get that data as well.
Thank you very much. That sounds like an amazing resource for residents. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Chief, I have a question for you. Regarding the current firefighters and this code compliance, what is your current recruitment initiatives? And regarding our community, this kind of goes to Phil too, because I apologize for not asking this when you presented last council. What are your both, I know you work together and collaboratively, what are your community initiatives this upcoming year?
Yeah.
And have you considered or talked about them?
So as it relates to my firefighter initiatives, again, similarly trying to provide a department that people want to be a part of. We're very much a family-related department, especially supporting each other on the calls. So making sure our folks understand that, and that I can provide them the resources to become a better firefighter. I think typically, a lot of times in the beginning years, a long time ago, people joined the department to give back to their community, and I still think there are a handful of people out there that want to be able to do that, but it also requires a lot more hours right now than before, right? So making sure that we're basically giving back to them as well as best as we can. So what does that mean? Our firefighters on the part-time paid on-call side, separate from the city, have a relief association that provides a pension for them, okay? So they have to have a minimum of 10 years of service to be vested into the pension, and it's 20 years max. So our goal this year is to focus on increasing that. There's been some change at the state level in figuring out the formula for that maximum benefit per firefighter, and we're hoping that with the change, we're going to be able to change that. I've had conversations with our finance director and city manager on this, and we always have guidance from the state. We have an audit that's done of the Relief Association and General Fund annually. And that's one area that we want to increase. So I feel like if our firefighters see that there's a retirement that's offered to them that's attractable, that they'll stay for that. And then also increasing the wage for our part-time paid on call. That is, I've mentioned this already to our staff, the city manager and finance director, that you're going to hear me talk about that later this year in our budget. That's going to be a top priority for me. So there'll be more details on that, because just compensating them for their time that they spend here, as it relates to, we have members that are on our department that are also part-time members. I have 3 or 4 that are other part-time members of other departments where they can schedule their hours and also be a firefighter for X amount of hours. And the wage comparison always comes up. So that's going to be an area that I'm focused on throughout this next year, are those 2 areas to help out our firefighters. As it relates to our community initiative, I feel because we have a strong community that, how do I describe it? We have a working class community, and I'm proud of that. And I think it shows on our fire department, because even though we're at 33 and we can be up to 40 members on the department, you know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we were at 38, 39, and it constantly changes. But there are other communities that are a lot less lower numbers than we are, with a larger base of citizens. So I think it's for me is always trying to get our message out there, that we're always looking for people to give back and give them an opportunity to provide to their community and their neighbors. And along the way, they're going to get something back out of it, you know, whether it's potentially a retirement or compensation, or just feeling good about being part of an organization that does good things.
In regards to that community initiatives, can the community alone expect maybe an open house to go to, some events that you and the police department will collaborate with, things like that too?
Yeah, so we have coming up on the big truck night at the car show. That'll be in June, where fire, police, public works will be there. And typically at that point, we also open up and obviously are pushing to try and obtain applications or applicants to be a part of the department. So that's an area. And then in August, for our National Night Out, we have done an open house, public safety open house, where we'll jointly open up the fire bay and the police garage and do some activities there to draw people in. Those are really those 2 main areas that we do. Obviously, for Fire Prevention Week, we go out to the schools and do a lot with all of our schools, and we spend the entire week with staff in schools and the kids. And those are probably the 3 main community things that we're focused on right now, other than our Booyah. Yeah.
And is story time still a thing?
Yes, that's right. Story time is still a thing. So the Ramsey County Library comes down and we do story time. It's typically in August inside the fire station. That has been a big hit, yes.
Cool, thank you. And I just have one last question, and it goes back to the code compliance and some of the challenges that your team is facing. What are some of the barriers or the points of resistance or tension that residents are having in not being able to accomplish or?
I think the biggest problem has been resources. So resources to be able to get rid of something, or the cost of getting rid of something. It could be not necessarily in the way of garbage and or debris, because there's some ways to get rid of it, but if you have a large dead tree, I mean, that could be thousands of dollars. The biggest problem in the winter time that we have, obviously, is shoveling snow, but also parking vehicles on the grass. And because it's a good thing that we don't have allow parking on the streets, so our streets can get plowed, but not everybody has enough parking space in their driveway, so a lot of times they can be parking in the front yard, side yard, or something like that. And typically in a situation like that is let them know that that's not allowed, and, you know, we'll hear about how their driveway is only so big, and, you know, we try to talk to them about, you know, looking at getting a permit to add on to see if that's possible for the following year and look into that. But resources are really the problem, whether it's financially or just knowing how to get rid of something or deal with an issue.
Thank you, that was very helpful.
Yeah.
Chief, how long have you been with the department?
I started in 1989 as a part-time paid-on-call firefighter, right out of high school, so you can do the math. And then in 2005, I started as a full-time fire inspector on the department. And basically, it was in 2019 that I was placed in the position of fire chief.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for all those years. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's been great. I have family in town. It's great to have that opportunity to serve the community that I lived in. I did move away for 3 years, all the way into Oakdale, and then I came back. So
You ventured out.
I ventured out and came back, and I've been here ever since. And yeah, it's been great.
Well, thank you. Anything else, anybody? Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, next is reports. City manager's not here tonight, but department reports as far as the commissions. Anybody have any reports?
The planning commission was the Dunkin' Donut thing that we just approved. So that went well, and
Parks and Rec will be meeting on Wednesday.
We had the EDA and we went over some things. We have a couple members that we're looking at as far as adding for one open seat. Of course, we had Tom Shiskey renewed, so we have one open seat that we're going through as far as applicants. We have a couple out there, so it's been good.
I retract on Parks and Rec. I apologize. However, we did have an applicant for one of the seats that's open, and we are extending an offer to that applicant. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Thanks for reminding me. I'm sitting on so many, I get them confused which ones I'm talking about. Thank you.
the planning commission did have an interview that was scheduled for earlier today. I was not able to attend. I wasn't sure with the weather if it still happened.
Yep, it did.
Okay, awesome.
Yep, we were able to get that done too. So we're trying to get everything filled, wrapped up here real quick, so we can be at full force, and of course, there's always gonna be more, so. All right. General business, anyone? Councilmember Norby? No. Councilmember Wong?
I do not have anything, thank you.
Councilmember Schwer?
I don't have anything.
Well, I have one thing. I'm gonna be doing a ride-along with one of our officers. Chief, I set it up for it, so I'll be doing a ride-along on Saturday from 6 PM to midnight. So I better not see any of you guys in the back of the squad car. That's all I have to say about that. So, yes, I've been looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Chief, for working that in for me. So, looking forward to it. Yep. If there's no other, I'll move for adjournment.
So moved, Your Honor.
So move, Councilmember Wong.
I'll second that.
Second, Councilmember Schwiers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Dismissed at 8:19. Now we have to work our way into the HRA, so. Oh,
You guys can't go anywhere.
thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
You know, we should really get together for something with the fire department, all of us. We have ride-along.
the student-built housing
Yeah.
presentation.
Oh, lawyer's checking out. I just wanted to. The HRA meeting, it's 8:23, called to order. Roll, please.
Chair John Mungy,
Here.
Commissioner Tim Cole is absent. Commissioner Cassidy Schwer,
Here.
Commissioner Lisa Wong,
Here.
Commissioner Jason Nordby,
Here.
and Executive Director Brian Frandl is absent as well.
All right, we got 2 action items. I think, Tom, you're up for this one. Thank you. Welcome.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tom Spain. I teach the Construction Occupations Program at Northeast Metro 916. We do the student-built houses in your community. So I'm here to give you a little update of where we're at with the house currently. And so it pretty much started back in the summer of 2022 when the city obtained that property at 2172 Eldridge Avenue East. They identified that property as condemnation. Basically, it was unfit for habitation, needed a lot of works, and we liked that lot because it was a double lot. So the city purchased it, did a lot split on it, so we're set for this year and the following school year as well. The challenge we had with that one was probably we had to remove some asbestos abatement in that one. That happened in August of 22. The house demo started about a week after that was done, so we got that ball rolling. The students' first day at the site was September 29th, when I actually physically could have all the students. I approximately have 54 students enrolled in the program. We put the foundation in October and backfilled it in mid-October. From that point forward, we've pretty much been doing all the framing, floor framing, wall framing, roof framing, things like that. As of now, we are shingled. Windows are back ordered. They're coming March 6th for us, along with everything else we're battling. The weather is probably our biggest challenge right now. In February, we still plan on doing in February, the electrical service was put in by the city of North St. Paul, and also the gas service, so that gave us some heat there, which was kind of nice to have. Currently, the roof and plumbing is done at the house, and like I said before, it's shingled and kind of waiting on windows. What's holding us up right now is the water connect has to be done, and I think because we're tying into maybe the new city, because we did that lot split, so I'm not sure if we have to put a new stub in or not. And talking to Public Works people, by the time we're ready for that, we'd have to possibly open up that road around November. They're like, we don't want to do that, in case we get snow and stuff like that. So good hindsight on their part, I guess, because it would have been an open hole on the road and snow and nothing good would happen with that. So as of, it was supposed to happen tomorrow, but given the weather, I'm not sure if it's going to go or not. The General Metro, the subcontractor was marketed to do the sewer and water connect, was supposed to come in and run the water line so we can pour the slab in the basement and continue framing on the lower level of the house. Other challenges that we're gonna have, other than the weather, we've got windows going in, but then we got spring break coming up, so that puts us off another week. Just a couple items that I think are going really well in the house, getting this lot ready ahead of time was awesome. We couldn't foresee the weather coming in, so that was a bit of a challenge, but we're making it happen. Just as an update, we are off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So they shut us down already for 3 days for the anticipated storm coming in. Donations are coming in, which is good. Some positive things to share with HRA. They're donating the granite countertops to the kitchen again, as they always do. Lumber prices are actually come down a little bit. And so I looked up some things last year, because we're building the same house that we did last year. Lumber is down about $2,500 from the same house we did last year. But unfortunately, to offset that, some of the HVAC costs are going up. Not so much labor, but just their material cost. He said he experienced a 30% increase in just material costs from last year to this year. So that's where we're at. Open it up for any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
We have heat in the basement, not upstairs. I mean, I'm going to hold off on that one a little bit
We'll wait till
longer.
spring.
Yeah, the spring will be good. We are still using our same partners, the St. Paul Cabinet Making Program. So they're scheduled to come out this Thursday to measure cabinets. I don't think, that'll have to get rescheduled. And we're also using the interior design program at Century College. So like I've always said, they do all the things I don't want to do: carpet colors, paint, stain, all that stuff. If it's up to me, great carpeting, white walls, we're good. But they add a lot of color to it and a lot of added value. I believe they're going to be presenting to the council probably in May. I think that's something that Catherine Harrington, the instructor, is working on, so they can give a full presentation to the council.
Time frame on, do you think, when it'll be completed?
We're getting pushed back because of the weather. Typically, we go end June. We're probably thinking mid-July now. Yeah. So we probably need to be a little proactive. Last year, we had a great partnership with Timber Ghost Realty right next door, as where they donated the listing service. And so we'll probably have to get in contact with them again. Hopefully that same thing follows suit. We might want to get the thing on the market maybe a little earlier, maybe before it's completely completed, like maybe 95% done, get it on the market, get the word out. Housing projections, I think last I looked last month, there was an uptick, but December is typically, and January is typically down. So I think we're supposed to be at.
It's like the other one, so it's one level living, which is very accommodating to.
Yes.
They're getting a little older, maybe don't want the big two-story anymore, but want to stay in the area.
Correct. And with that, I think we're doing a really good job, me and Ron and Randy, looking at the properties and seeing what fits in the neighborhood and not going crazy, as far as doing something that doesn't fit. So I think that's why that one sold last year pretty quick. It was 1,400 square feet on the main. We finished off another 1,100 in the basement, so a total 2,500 feet square finished. This one will be the same. It fits in the neighborhood nicely. We have that 60-foot wide lot with setbacks and things like that. We could make it a little bit bigger, but I don't think we're gaining any value added with that. And so we kind of like the plan. A lot of good reviews last year on the walkthroughs. We had a lot of people attend that. And so I think we made that decision pretty easy to do the same plan since we're far enough away from the house we did last year.
Have you thought of a third car garage?
With that tight lot, it's tough.
And the 60-footer is tough too, stuff also?
Yeah.
Okay.
With our setbacks. In the years past, we've actually moved the house, shifted it over to one side, so if the new homeowners wanted to add a third stall, at least they could. But with these lots, it's pretty tight.
And they're pretty flat lots too, if I remember right.
Correct. So pretty flat lots. They did a nice job of cutting down some banks, and there was a tree pretty much right on the curb line that had to go down. I don't think it hurt anybody's feelings. That thing was wasn't a beautiful tree. I think, I don't know what it was. It needed to go. It's probably an ash is where I'm going with this comment. So it needed to go down. Looking into next year, if everything goes good, I'd love to go again next year with the city of North St. Paul. We'll have to have more conversations about, do we want to go at the same floor plan? Now that we've been doing this for a while, we kind of have an arsenal of plans that will fit on that lot, so might have to entertain some options for that, so we don't start looking like, hate to say it, but neighborhood down Woodbury, garage left, garage right, garage left, where they're basically the same floor plans, just flipped the garage location on it. So we'll look at taking our existing plan and modifying that as a potential, and so changing up roof lines, stuff like that, so it doesn't look identical, or looking at some of the other ramblers we've done in the past that would fit on that lot.
In the past, you've mentioned like multiplexes or duplexes as buildings you used to build here.
That was that property I believe the city obtained off Delaware. And I think initially that was earmarked for the construction program. They also looked at getting some private investors for that because there's going to be a lot of upfront cost, city sewer and water. I mean, they're like $650-some a foot, and so punching all that infrastructure is going to be expensive for that. So I think we kind of just held on that. I believe that property also was, there were some other parties interested in buying that property for development. And then from the city perspective, once you start getting into those townhomes, then are you creating HOAs with that? And who's going to be taking that over? So I think those were some of the obstacles we came across, and so we just decided to keep looking for these properties that are distressed and need to get them out of the neighborhood.
Thank you.
One of the I was excited, the numbers you said, how many students you have. That is really great to hear.
Well, the bad thing is I've got 40 on a waiting list to get in.
You're what?
40 on a waiting list to get in.
So,
And so what we're going to be doing next year at the school is we're actually going to be starting another construction program. And this one will just be licensed trades. And so for students who want to pursue a career as an electrician or plumber, we'll still utilize the house as some training opportunities for them. But we got so many kids, we're turning them down. And so that's a good problem to have, but I always look at what's happening to those 40 students, where else are they doing? And so we're going to try to get this new program started. Our registrations for the school year will come out end of February, beginning of March, so we'll kind of know where our numbers are. And hopefully we can just go 2 programs. And they'll be hiring a new instructor for that program. After talking to my principal, she's thinking that might be a great opportunity to get someone accustomed to the construction one and a home building one. And then maybe in the future, at some point, I think I've got to retire and step down, then that person would take that over with me kind of facilitating that transition rather than just dropping the ball.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. No problem.
Graduated from trade school, Dakota County, so just have the trades coming, and being able to get people in and seeing the back when we were younger in school, there was all 4-year colleges.
Yeah.
And I wasn't built for one. I tried it and didn't work, and then ended up going in my at 28 to go to become a telecom. So I did phone work, but it's just nice to see that we're talking more along trades and things like that, and they're actually getting students. So that's really, really good to hear.
Yeah, no, it's been good across the board. I had a meeting today with the electrical, so our IBW 110 out of St. Paul, and they're pretty excited about us starting this new program. The Plumbers Union, they've always been really supportive with Winslow Plumbing, being the people that are actually in the trenches doing our work for us, speak highly of their trades, and I think that's what the kids need to hear is, not from me and not from, I'm a dad as well, but not from mom and dad and not from their teacher, but people that are physically in the trades doing the work that they can ask those questions to.
Yeah, great.
Cool.
It's anything I need to do, action items here under this? I think it was just a presentation from you, right?
Yeah, just to pretty much give the HRA an update of where we're at, and it's been going smooth other than the weather.
Yeah.
So I'll probably, and again, thank you for having, Public Works being able to plow us out once in a while. Otherwise, I don't have 54 shovels, so I don't know what, I don't know what we do in a case like that. So Ron and Randy do a nice job, you know, obviously take care of the city streets first and then the alleyways and do all that, but we're usually off school. And then they'll come by in the morning and they just, you know, with the big trucks, it just takes them a few minutes to get the snow out of there and accessible.
Nice.
I appreciate that. In years past, we haven't had that luxury, so we've been shoveling.
All right, well, thanks for being out there with the people and getting the work done, and it's exciting for their careers, so.
Great, well, thank you for the opportunity to present.
Yeah, we'll look forward to an open house and seeing it go.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that as well. I think that'll mark our, 28th or 29th house that we've done as a school. And we started partnering with North St. Paul, I believe in 2008. And I think we did a house every year except for one. We had a lot that we couldn't close on. And I believe we did some picnic shelters and worked on the press box and did a couple other projects in the community. And those are also viable projects, you know, for the students to do. And I kind of like those because we bounced around a little bit, you know, and not on the same project for 9 months. So that was fun. So if that opportunity presents itself again, you know, we're willing to listen.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate everything.
Yep, you bet.
Have a
good
nice night. Drive safe. All right. Marketing video by Open Window Productions. Do I do anything? What? Isn't this under the HRA here? You approved it, but you're gonna tell me something?
Mayor and Council, the expenditure was approved, I believe, at the last council meeting. I think the reason they probably put it on the HRA agenda for you is this marketing video is kind of spearheaded by the EDA, but there's other segments of the city that are going to chip into it, and it's going to be an overall promotion piece with the city. So Brandy and I have met with the development team, have discussed some potential outlines for them and some residents that we've kind of recommended them to interview as part of their process in putting the video together. And I believe now that they're have been approved, what they'll be doing is getting back to us with a variety of scripts. And they've worked out different options. They said quite effectively that they can use a lot of the footage and just package it differently so that the city can come away with a package of videos. One that would be to promote businesses in the city, one that would be to promote to our residents, for people, you know, new residents who want to live in our city. So we're really impressed with their ability to kind of work with our budget and give us the biggest bang for our buck. So I believe that's the reason that it was put on here, was the idea that we will have a separate video that will be a promotional piece for residents to make their home in North St. Paul.
I know the EDA, we talked about it, they were getting nervous because they wanted to make sure they could get some snow pictures, so if they got the cameras out, they should be good for 3 days now. All right, any,
And there is a resolution in there for cost share, approving the cost share.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask that. Okay.
that's my job, okay? Can I get a motion for, do you want to discuss more?
How much is it?
Yeah, well, I was wondering as far as who would be here to talk about that. Would that be you? Jenny? How much
Oh,
money?
sorry.
And doesn't have anything on there for the,
Yeah, I do not know anything about this item. I apologize. I'm just looking on the resolution to see.
I know it was like 10,000 something when I looked through the packet. I don't know what
It says
packet I
HRA
looked
would
through.
contribute 25% and the city would contribute 25%, but I do not know the total amount.
Yeah, when I read the packet.
The previous council packet, yeah. So that's the total, or that's the
No, that was the
25%?
total. Because I
Okay.
asked Brian that question, because I didn't understand reading it.
So how do we approve something we don't have the exact numbers on?
Is Brandy left?
Yep.
This is her item. I'm sorry about that.
Oh,
Can we table it for a council meeting?
do we need the video? Let me look and see.
If we do it after, they,
I can look back on EDA.
Cost Cross share for open windows for February 7th. Open windows production. $10,649.95. So I was close at 10.7.
Nice, well done.
$5 next time, try to.
Thank you. I will make sure that that resolution reflects that dollar amount. So when we look back, we have that information as well.
Okay.
So what percentage is the HRA accountable for? 25 and 25? Okay,
Correct.
okay. Okay. I have no problem with that. It sounds good to me.
Okay, would you like to motion
I would like to motion.
Thank you.
Let's motion.
for the $10,695 and to be split 25-25?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Norby. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. All right. Any other questions or anything else we're at the adjournment end here.
I have one question, and I don't know if this is the right form. Is this the group that would keep an eye open if, when he was talking about trade buildings, if there's any opportunities with the community center coming up where the students could get involved with some of it, the aspects?
I think that'd be too big of a, so. Once we get the report, talking about this,
I was wondering if this is the right committee, because he was talking about getting some of the students involved with the trade skills and a little bit more like that. I didn't know if this was the right committee to just put it on the back burner, that if there's opportunities with the community center that come up.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, there's definitely more discussion to just kind of explore that.
Yeah. Well, we can,
Something we
once we
can-
get a report back, we can see what's involved. All right, then I will move to adjourn at 8:44. Anybody want to motion that?
So moved, Your Honor.
Move Councilmember Wong,
I'll second that.
Councilmember Schwiers. The gallery is the third. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Bang,